Welcome, welcome everyone. Welcome back. I'm so excited. I'm so excited because we started this conversation and I know that we need to continue it. I know that we need to have even more conversations around the feminine cycle. And who better to have back with us than Miss Claire Bell, who was on last week and she is here this week. And we are just so excited to be able to continue this conversation. If you are just getting into this and you have realized that you missed part one, please pause, go listen to part one, and then come back and listen to part two here. But once again, just welcome to Breath of Life Conversations. I'm so happy that you're here. Miss Claire, I'm so excited to have you back.
It's lovely to be back. Thank you. So nice to talk to you again. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much. I was so jonesing off of the last conversation. You have no idea how much the fact that you have these different, very unique way of speaking about the different phases or different weeks, if you are a person that thinks in weeks when it comes to your
Yeah,
period,
yeah,
um, of how to describe the whole cycle, not just the time, the 3 to 7 days of actual bleeding, but the entire cycle. You have wisdom being from day one of you start bleeding till you finish
yeah,
your
yeah.
physical period. Then you get into daring, then into harmony, then into freedom. Am I remembering
Freedom,
that
freedom.
correctly?
Yes, freedom, freedom.
Beautiful. So now in this conversation, I really wanted us to dive into what it is to be a female who is transitioning into quote that huge life change. Now, I
It's
personally have
huge.
not yet gone into that, but I have so many people in my life who have, and for them, I continuously tell them to wake up every morning and and get curious about how your body is today, acting as if it's a brand new roller coaster to explore, a brand new theme park to explore. But I have a feeling that the way that knowing what you know about the feminine cycle and how it changes and all of these things, you have probably a much different way of describing this. Can you take us through your thought process and like what you've discovered as you have not only gone through this yourself, but also
Yeah.
just the work that you've done?
Yeah, do you know what? And it's huge, and it's what sparked my journey into this whole thing in the first place. Because do you know what? There's not enough women talking about it, and it's gaslighted. It has so much shame attached to it, and so much misunderstanding. And even like a month ago, it's like groundbreaking studies are just coming out because nobody's ever done this before. Because people have just gone, you know what? Even I watched a podcast by an amazing female doctor, and she said as she was doing her training, they had it was like a code word for what was called a WW, a whinging woman. So someone in this period of their life that would go and seek help from a health professional, they were just called a whinging woman. And it's still so prevalent. And the more we talk about it, the more we can go, do you know what? There are billions, literally billions of women in this phase of their life at the moment. And we're all going to go through it. You can't stop it. And so it should be normal again, like the cycle. It should be just something that we all know and we all talk about. And it shouldn't come as such a surprise. Which is, again, thank you so much for having me on so I can kind of like spread it to more people. So it's, yes, I do. I love it because moving from the wisdom, daring, harmony, freedom, I kind of also see that a woman's life journey goes through those phases on a broader aspect too. So it's like you could say when we are young, pre-puberty, we're more in the wisdom phase. We're taking in, we're learning knowledge, we're listening to the universe and everything that we're saying. And then when we go through when we hit puberty and we start cycling and we become into the young womanhood, we're in daring, you want to try everything, go everywhere, be everywhere, do everything. And then when we become a mother, we go into our nurturing harmony phase of life, So we go through those not only monthly, but on a yearly basis. And then when we go through perimenopause and menopause, because it can be, and this is what blew me away when I discovered it, up to 10 years of a woman's life. It like is she's in perimenopause and menopause, going through that transition. And that is like that's like a life phase of freedom, you know, and and which is hard when when you actually go through and learn everything that happens to us in that phase. It's immense. Um, but if you are already doing that in your life all the time, and every month you have these cycles, you're already aware of yourself in freedom. You're already aware of what happens to you. So when you go through it on a much bigger life scale, you already have started to have the awareness, to build the tools, to build the resilience, to speak to the people around you about the support you need. So you can just extend it through that whole phase of that is perimenopause and menopause, because it is massive. And they are literally only now just discovering the extent that menopause has an effect on women. And it's not just about reproductive hormones. It's not like you just that, oh, your eggs dry up and you're done. That's not all it is. It affects everything. It affects every organ in our body. It affects our brains. It affects our gut health. It affects our bone density. It affects literally everything about who we are. And most of us do think that we are crazy. We think we're imagining it. We think that, I, for so long, I was just like, you know what? I feel like there's something wrong with me. I don't, I kind of feel different, but I don't know why. I can't put my finger on it. Am I just more cranky? Am I ill? Is there something, am I sick? Do I have a disorder, or is something going on? And and it was like literally about 3 or 4 years of me just going through this on my own before I learned enough and discovered enough and really found people that were actually saying, no, this is not you being crazy. This is perimenopause. This is the thing that happens when you're in your 40s. And it can start as early as, some women do have it earlier,
Absolutely.
symptoms beginning in their 30s and stuff. And it goes on till, well into your 50s and stuff. And like culturally, you just go, oh, menopause is something that happens when women are older, and it's not, you don't think, oh, that's not me. I'm only like, yeah, I'm in my early 40s. That can't be right now. And it's like, no, it is. And
Mhm.
it's everything, and it's huge, to the point that I do, and they are saying, studies are coming out and they're starting to do statistics and things like that, saying that there are a huge amount of women that ask for a divorce in their 40s because of menopause
Mhm.
and the effects that it has on us, and whether you just go, okay, well, I'm not going to put up with that from the people in my life anymore. It's like, you have to I can't take on all of the emotional stuff, all of the organizational stuff, and do this and do that, and be losing my parts of who I am at the same time. Or it can be that they're not getting the support that they need,
Mm.
or and so many things. And so many women don't even realize that that's what they're going through. So again, you have that self, I'm rubbish, I'm broken, I'm useless, there's something wrong with me. Why is it me? And it's like, no, it's our bodies, it's our hormones, it's our brains, it's everything. And we are not, we can't change that. We can't stop it. We can't control it. We can do lots of things to help, and we can do lots of things to make it smoother, but it's happening, you know, and and it's like you can choose to, again, like, to go with the flow of it, and to in not in I wouldn't say you kind of enjoy the journey in all respects, because there is lots of stuff going on that's massively not enjoyable, but you can make it a lot more spiritual, encompassing, and a life phase, rather than struggling against it, going, oh, but I want to be that person I was in my 30s. I liked her. It's like, she's gone. girl, she ain't never coming back. You gotta move on and become
Mhm.
a new, different, and more powerful in some ways women. And that's, yeah, it's massive. Sorry, I get really excited.
It No, I love it because you're right. You're absolutely right. It is all encompassing. And there are a lot of women out there that go through it and not realizing
Mm.
everything that goes along with it. And so in order to provide some clarity for people, so if you are wondering if this is you, like let's can you give us like a couple of like hot hit points of like, okay, so this is how you know that you're starting to go through perimenopause or are in menopause. What does this look like? What have you observed? What is it that you know?
Okay. Do you know what they have cataloged now over like 70 symptoms of things that can be related to perimenopause. Some of them can be related to other things as well. So it's always good to go and work with a really good health professional. But we'll talk about that in a bit. But so things that people always talk about is weight gain. Even though I haven't changed my diet, I'm still exercising the same, but I'm seeming to get a bit of a belly, or I'm holding on to fat, or I've put on some weight, and I'm not doing anything different. Why is that? That's one thing. Um, and typically, most medical things and when people talk about menopause, they talk about the hot flashes. You know what? But um, where women all of a sudden you can just become overcome and just like almost like feel like an explosion from inside, and you just want to take all your clothes off because you go, oh my god, I'm so hot, I can't,
Yeah.
and that's something that they do talk about. But that's one tiny little thing, and a lot of women don't get hot flashes. The things that they
Mm,
don't talk about hugely is the mental aspects, um, the emotional aspects, and other physical aspects. So I know for me, and I spoke with my sister, she's older than me, and she went through it before me. um I I started to lose my sense of self, of who I was. So I lost my resilience. I couldn't cope with stuff as much. My brain, that brain fog that sometimes you get, just before you start your period, was intensified. I lost my ability to do normal everyday things. Um, like organization, like looking after the kids and stuff. Emotionally, I find myself checking out when it came to my family and going, "Do you know what? Whatever, I don't care. I'll just let the kids just do their own thing. I can't be bothered with it." And then I felt guilty, and I'm like, "Wow, how am I not caring about my children? That's awful," you know. And then not being able to sleep is another one, and you lose strength and things, and even I do listen to a couple of really, really amazing women who specialize, like doctors that specialize, and neuroscientists in this area. I'll share their names later. Who said even things like frozen shoulder is quite common for women going through menopause, and body aches, because as our body loses estrogen, we have estrogen receptors all over our bodies, in our guts, in our muscular, in our brain, in everywhere. And as estrogen drops across the board, so it sparks so many other issues, inflammation and things, that because estrogen is it's a really good anti-inflammatory hormone. So it helps to keep inflammation in your body down. So when you don't have as much of that, if you're not doing the lifestyle choices that naturally keep inflammation low in your body, as your estrogen lessens, the inflammation is going to rise in your body, so you're going to start to have more problems of those, like autoimmune things, of so many diabetes, and those kinds of things are going to start to accelerate, um, because the estrogen is lower. So it's huge. Most women, they've even started to say now that studies are saying that if you already have, if you're prone to anxiety and depression, it's going to get worse. And the meds that maybe were helping you and keeping you ticking over and being okay are not going to work as well, because our brain chemistry changes, the energy levels in our brain changes, the amount of gray matter and white matter reduces, so there's so much going on that
Mhm.
mentally and emotionally we are hugely challenged. If you have ADHD, again, those symptoms, and hey, that's why I got diagnosed in my you know uh in my early 50s, last year, a couple of months ago, because my ADHD symptoms that I could cope with in the rest of my life became exacerbated by the changes in my brain chemistry, and what I used to be able to manage now have become completely unmanageable.
So
So
why do you think that is? Why do you think that nature, or the nature of the spirit, has this as a part of its function? Why is it that, it's more than just, now you've reached an age where you don't have any eggs anymore, and now it's this huge major change? What, in your opinion, is the reason for that?
there's different thoughts on this. I mean, and it used to be typically, well, we weren't ever designed to live this long. So when our bodies run out of eggs, because and I love this thing. So so the eggs that a woman has in her ovaries are created when she is in her mother. So when you are a tiny baby, you inside your mom's tummy, you have all of the eggs that you will ever have in your life. So there's a finite amount, right? And as you get older, you lose more and more eggs. So by the time you're in your 40s, you have like 2% left of the eggs that you had originally. So your body kind of goes on overdrive to, oh, okay, we're running out. We need to up things. We need to up these hormones to try and, eke out their existence and make the most of them, kind of thing. Because it was all about having babies and making sure that we continued as a race. So some people say, well, we weren't ever supposed to live that long because we didn't used to, so the body didn't ever know what to do. But then somewhere else has, like, some I don't know what you call them, archaeologists, people that
Yeah.
study, how we've progressed as human race and stuff, have
Yeah.
said that actually postmenopausal women have been responsible for the growth of our civilization, because when we were hunter-gatherers and stuff like that, you had the men went out and hunted, that kind of thing, and the women were the gatherers, and they went and they um you know had kids, and we were looking after the children and stuff. But then postmenopausal women could take on the brunt of organizing and growing and keeping safe, and um, making sure that everything else was working. So we were the organizers, because generally back then, men obviously had a lot more things that, they were out hunting, so they would not live as long generally, because they would get injured or they would get eaten, or those kinds of things. But the
Mhm.
women that were no longer childbearing could therefore take care of, look after, and run everything else, which I kind
Mhm.
of like that. I kind of like that idea, because then you have that whole powerful, the wise woman, the crone, she's done the childbearing, she's gone through all of those journeys, and then she's transitioned to become the wisdom to share with the younger generations, which is beautiful. I love that. So
And
I'm sticking with that one.
that was, and it makes so much sense too, because especially when we think about the different names of the phases, right? It's like I love that you equate being young, being pre menarchal, basically before you get your period, as also being in that wisdom stage of life. And
Mm.
then you basically go back around in the circle. And as
Yeah.
you're completing your menopause, right? And your body has said, all right, I am officially after this 10 years
Yeah.
potentially, right, of the menopausal stage, your body has now said, okay, and we're good now. This is our new phase of existence. We're now in this brand new cycle
Yeah.
of wisdom.
Yeah.
And I think that that's such a beautiful way to look at it. And I think your take on it holds such a value. People who have known me and have followed me for a really long time know that I'm all about that there are no accidents, and
Yeah.
that our consciousness and our spirit always has a very good plan. And I think that there are, whether you go with the take of like one creator decided to create Adam and Eve, or if you go with the aliens seeded the planet, it doesn't really matter. Either way, I think what ultimately can be taken away from the whole experience and existence of humanity is that once our consciousness decided to come into these cute little
Yeah.
tiny bodies, we started making adjustments to the fact that if we were going to do this, we were going to do it in a way that was going to be beneficial for us. And
Mm.
it's not beneficial for women because of our power, because of our strength, because of all of the different things that we are capable of doing. It's not actually a good thing for us to constantly have the ability to bear children.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just not. We need to be able to enter into a completely different way of being and thinking and moving through life. And that requires us to not be able to have children.
Yeah.
That means that our bodies need to not menstruate every
Yeah, it's
single.
a different phase. Yeah, yeah, and we have to go through the transition from it's like a releasing, and that's what I see. Perimenopause is like a releasing of the life and the person that we were, and we have to go through, and it's the best time for self-development, for looking inside, for releasing all your limiting beliefs and letting go of all the negative stories so that you can come out the other side as that strong powerhouse wise woman that can do so much good for the world, because we have such awareness, we have the emotional abilities, but then we also have gained the strength of and power in ourselves, um, because we don't have to be consistently giving it to our children anymore, which is what you
Yes.
rightly should do in motherhood. But now we can give it to the greater community and help foster, a wider space, which is,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, what is it that you recommend or teach your students and clients when they're going through this time? What is it that you kind of grace yourself with as far as like exercises that you are doing to help yourself, not only from a physical standpoint, but from that emotional standpoint? Are there certain things that you do, certain routines that you've put into place because you're like, okay, going through this, I know that I'm going to struggle more with my ADHD. I know I'm going to struggle more with organization. I know I'm going to struggle, whatever it might be.
Yeah, yeah.
What is it that you teach and help direct yourself to do because you're in this phase, knowing what's going on with your hormones and how they're fluctuating and changing? What is it that you do to help you along?
Um, there is huge amounts. It depends on your life journey and lifestyle choices as well. Because from a health perspective, and also when it links to, they're now discovering links to menopause and dementia and Alzheimer's and stuff as well. So physically, there are lots of things that we can do to help lessen all of the symptoms that we have. So it's like basic nutrition is so important. What you eat, 80% of your physical makeup is made by the food choices that you make, and it
So
is
what are
not.
the like examples of things to kind of stick with when you're going through this period?
So it is good quality proteins, lots of proteins. Women need a lot of proteins at this point. Natural whole foods. So lots of your green veggies, your leafy veggies, and like good fruits that have antioxidants, your berries and things like that. And celery and kale and all of those kinds of things, nuts and seeds and um,
And
whole whole foods.
is this all to in order to help your body balance the hormones as they're changing inside of your body, or is this more from a perspective of your body just needs fuel because everything is changing?
It's everything, because the food that you eat does affect your hormones. And if you are um and food also can cause that extra layer of inflammation in your body that I was talking about earlier. So if you are consistently eating the wrong foods, and foods that cause inflammation, and foods that don't feed the good gut bacteria, you're already putting yourself at a disadvantage internally. And then as estrogen drops, if you are doing inflammatory increasing habits like bad diet and all of those other things, it's going to exacerbate all of your menopausal symptoms, all of them. So food is huge.
Okay.
And also toxic things like alcohol. Unfortunately, it sucks, and we lose our resilience really a lot in this phase. And it's really difficult, because when you're going through those mental issues and the fog and the stress and all of that kind of stuff, it's one of the first things you do, because it does help in short term to relax you, but it's actually causing so many issues in your body. And yeah, you can go, oh, but it's a little bit la la la, and it's like, well, yes, but realistically, it's not great. Um,
Right.
and and things like that. They also from an exercise perspective, strength training is super important, because they're linking muscle mass to bone density and osteoporosis, and it's super important for us to keep strong. So
Yeah.
skinny is not important. It's strong. You have to be strong. That whole thing, when I was growing up, if you were skinny, people thought you were healthy. And it's like, that couldn't be further from the truth. Absolutely further from the truth. You need to be strong and make good choices. And then the other things are, sleep is so important, because when you sleep, that's when you almost your brain is like a dishwasher when you sleep. So it cleans everything out that it doesn't need,
Yeah.
and it helps to reset everything when you sleep. And it also helps to rebuild your muscles. That's when you do all of the good stuff. Um, and stress is another huge, huge power play in perimenopause, because our resistance is a lot lower and we can't bounce back like we used to against so many things. It doesn't take as much to cause huge amounts of stress, and we hold on to it for so long. So um, even so, I'm like, always, you have to be so graceful and gentle with yourself. Um, and set better boundaries. Actually, almost you have to kind of hibernate and take control of saying, you know what, this now is when I need to look after me, to set myself up for in my health and wellness, so that I can live a long time to help as many people as possible. But right now, this period of my life, I need to put me first.
Yeah.
So I need to say no to those things. I need to stop pushing myself to my limits and saying, oh, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. It's like, no, you're much better off to say, no, I'm choosing not to do that.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy to, if I have a day off, I'm quite happy to go somewhere to a nice park or somewhere and sit and just watch the world, read a book if I want to,
Mm.
those kinds of nurturing self-care things. Go for a walk. If you get stressed, go for a walk. Meditation is super, super important. And 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 um I like I like to call it like a good mental diet. So it is
Mm,
watching what you
yeah,
take into yourself, even movies you watch and the social media that you look at and the people that you follow. It's like, are they giving you something good? Are they making you feel good about yourself? Are they improving and nurturing who you want to be? Or are they filling you with drama? And because even like, even if you watch a movie and it's scary and you go, oh, and that was a good rush, but it's actually not a good rush for your body. um so it's 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 just reevaluating everything in your life and go, what practices are going to create the person and the life that I want to have moving forwards? Do I want to be somebody that's fit and healthy and live a long time helping lots of people, and then one day, bang, I'm just gone?
mm,
Or am I going to slowly eke and dwindle away and then become that decrepit person that doesn't is not aware of the world anymore? And those are the choices that you make, and it's now in this phase of our life that you set that up.
yeah.
So it's
You
super
mentioned
important.
You mentioned earlier too about how one of the things that can truly suffer during this particular period for women, this perimenopause and menopausal time, is our relationships.
Yeah.
And as somebody who is married with children who are still growing, who are still in the home, how is it for that you are teaching or teaching yourself how to manage those relationships when right now your body is almost on a daily a stranger to you in some
Yeah.
ways?
it it was hard for a good while because I didn't know what was going on in me. So it's like, how I couldn't communicate it to my husband. I was just like, oh, do you know what? I don't feel very good this summer. Maybe I should go see a doctor. Maybe I should see chiro. I don't know. And he was just like, okay, go on then. Do what you want to do. And I have to say, I am truly blessed because I have in my husband somebody who actually listens and cares about. He never poo-poos anything that I try and say. He will listen, and sometimes he'll go, oh, okay, that sounds interesting, show me. And then I have to go, oh, okay, right, I'll go find this article or this book or what have you, to because he's a highly logical person. um so he is very much open to learning and supporting, and we made a pact when we first got together, because we both came with baggage, as you do. And we both said, you know what, um let's make a pact that we will always be brutally honest with each other. And he always
Mm.
says to me after, he always says, I think you put the brutal in, but anyway. But that it would be, um you know the small things we would discuss, rather than letting things build up and not say anything until you have an explosion. We would always say, okay, right then, there and then, did you mean to upset me, because that really hurt me what you just said? And he
Mm.
would go, oh, did I? No, I didn't. And we would discuss it. So we've always had a very communicative relationship, and we always make a point to check in with each other, even if it's once a month. We will go, how are you going? Are you good? Are we good? Is there anything we need to talk about between us, not the kids, but between us? Is there something I can do? How are we working? So we've always kind of, even though we've changed a lot over the time we've been together, we've always managed to grow together, because even if our paths have kind of changed, we've shared it with each other and chosen to. And it is
Mm.
a conscious choice. A lot of the time it is a conscious choice to say, I'm choosing to stay and work it out and find how we can be who we are now but still together. So I've been very blessed with that. So he is very open to supporting me and helping me. Not all the time, sometimes he's like, oh my god, can you just not? and I,
Again.
and I've had to say to him sometimes, I've had to say to him, you need to let me walk out now. And especially in the last year or so, I'm like, you need to let me walk out now, because I'm really mad and I don't want to say something that I can't take back. I don't want to
Mhm.
say something that's going to hurt you. And if you push me and make me continue in this conversation, that's what's going to happen. So we have had to do that. And I've gone, dude, you need to let me leave. Can you just, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And I've had to leave.
Yes.
Because do you know what? I've always been fiery. I've got ADHD, and I'm a, extroverted kind of, performance based person. So I've always been fiery. Um, and more now he bites back, but then we trust each other and we love each other and we know that we're going to work it out regardless. So,
Yes.
and it's like my children have said to me, oh, like my son, because he's got friends that are in separated families. He's like, oh, you and daddy just had an argument, are you going to get divorced? And I'm like, no, dude, of course not. Everyone argues because we're not the same people. We have differences of opinion. That's okay. We love each other, we trust each other, and we'll work it out. That's how it is. So, but I do share a lot with him. I do always say, hey, I just saw this, I just read this article, or I just listened to this podcast, and this is happening to me at the moment. And I just want you to know, so that if this happens, it's not because of you, it's because I'm going through something. So
Mhm.
if I make you feel bad or like it's you, can you just discuss it with me? Because it's probably not, it's probably just me. And so he
Yeah.
does, and he comes up to me and goes, hey, are you in a mood with me, or is it? And I'm like, no, it's good, I'm just, this is happening at the moment and my brain is thinking about something else. So we have that really open communication, and it makes a big difference.
I think that's such a beautiful thing for people who are in relationships to know that number one, it's possible. I think that there are a lot of
It
people out
is.
there that are like, I don't think this is actually possible. I've never seen this in real
Yeah,
life. Well, I want people to use your story as a really great example of number one, it is an example that can happen. It's something
mm,
that actually works in practice. And I think for all of those people out there who are sitting here going, well, my husband is really stubborn, he's a stickler, he really isn't a talker, I struggle to get him to open up. I think one of the things to consider is asking a simple question of, you know what, I need to understand how to better communicate with you, instead of assuming that any person's way of communicating is only going to be in one way, that they're really
yeah,
going to be very expressive. There are a lot of people out there that don't have a huge amount of expression, whether it is that they can't find the words, maybe they've got some underlying fears or traumas or something that it makes it really difficult for them to actually project,
yeah,
but that doesn't mean that they're incapable of communication. And it's all about figuring out where you and your relationship are at. Maybe there is, just by having that conversation of, I need us to be a little bit more communicative, and defining what that looks
yeah,
like
yeah,
and taking baby steps can be really super helpful. Don't give up on it. I
yeah,
think one of the things that we've noticed over time, I think, when I say us, I'm talking the whole like global society, is that people don't have a problem with commitment. They're committed to themselves.
yeah,
But just because something is going on with you, aka perimenopause, menopause, and your whole world is shifting inside of you, and you have no idea what's going on, or how, when I say that, like, you have no idea how to explain to somebody who will never go through this,
yeah,
what's going on with you, and you're struggling to try to find a way to make yourself not sound like you're crazy or you're going through it, right? Um, just take a breath. Practice all of the things that Claire has talked about today. Really start focusing in on yourself, focusing in on where you can make small adjustments in your life. And when it comes to your relationships, give yourself grace and just tiny, tiny adjustments every single day to get yourself to a place that may end up looking just so incredibly beautiful, like a Claire with her husband has. And maybe it'll be a completely different version, but just as beautiful for you. But understand that there has
yeah.
to be some conversations and steps that have to be taken, some well placed words that you may have to do some testing to find out. But understand that not just because you're going through it, just because your body is changing, doesn't mean that you have to say, well, to hell with my relationships.
Yeah.
Because it's absolutely possible to have really beautiful relationships in a variety of different ways while your body is going through this. Claire, are there any, to like wrap this up, is there anything else that you'd like us to discuss? Any other tidbits that we can add to this conversation that you are just like, I don't want to leave without them knowing this?
Um, it's it's that thing again of just understanding that you're not broken, you're not crazy, you're female. And do you know what? Every other female on the planet is going to go through this at some point. And it's just the more you talk about it and the more we open up and the more we share and support each other, then the easier it's going to be for generations below us coming, and it's okay to just say no. It's okay to look after yourself. It's okay to say, I need to take a time out for me. Um, I need to just do what's right for me at this moment. It doesn't make me a bad person. It doesn't make me, um, not care about somebody else. It means that I need to, it's like in the airplane, you have to put on your own mask before you can see to anybody else. And in this phase of a woman's life, it's, that's in capital letters, you know, and and
Yes.
and reach out. Don't do it alone. Don't do it alone. You just reach out to somebody, even a Facebook group. If you are on your own, there are Facebook groups. There's even an ADHD perimenopause Facebook group, which I am in because, oh my gosh, it's intense. But there is always somebody. And you know what, if you're at a place where you can't reach out to anyone, you put your hands on your heart and you close your eyes and you find the lovely, beautiful person that is inside you in your heart. And sometimes it's not this one, it's this one down here, because she
Mhm.
knows and she loves and she will point you in the right direction.
Oh, I love this. Thank you so, so much for coming and sharing your wisdom and letting us all know that we're not broken. This is gonna
Yeah,
have it's a journey that we all go through, and that there are resources that we can
lots.
absolutely bring into our space to help us no matter what situation we find ourselves in when it comes to our hormones and our feminine cycles. Guys, please check out the show notes below. All of the links to how you can work with and connect with Claire are down there. I am so happy that you were able to come back on. And please, if there is anything else that you'd like to discuss, you are more than welcome to come on back. This is an open invitation. So please keep in touch and maybe we'll see you again soon.
I will do. It's been beautiful. Lovely to speak to you again. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for another Breath of Life conversation. Please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and share this with anyone who you feel like needs this conversation. I'm sure you probably have a mom or a sister out there who needs this, and or a best friend out there who needs this. So please send it out into the world. Let all of these beautiful pieces of wisdom rain out so that we all know that we're all in this together. And we will see you next time on the next Breath of Life Conversations. Bye, everybody.